SBEGO 127W. Nope, that's not just a random sequence of letters and numbers, but an actual name someone thought up for the product, read out loud to themselves, and apparently thought, nailed it. The product in question happens to be the latest portable micro quadcopter from SBEGO, or
SBEGO,
which I, based on the fact that their products look alike and often use the same system for numbering, suspect is just an alternative branding sometimes used by the manufacturer FQ777. The legend, or rather instruction manual, speaks of three versions of the model: the plain 127, the camera-equipped 127C, and the Wi-Fi FPV-enabled 127W, which seems to be the only one presently available and the one I'll be reviewing. Returning viewers know that this is far from the first model of this kind from SBEGO or FQ777 though, so is there anything particularly noteworthy about the 127? Let's find out. Welcome to this review and flight test of the 127W micro quadcopter from SBEGO. If I describe the 127W as a small, foldable quadcopter with Wi-Fi FPV and a transmitter that, in addition to controlling the craft, can be used both for charging and carrying it around, you may think to yourself, wasn't that already released like a year ago? It wasn't, but you're not completely off either. The 127W is confusingly similar to a whole slew of existing SBEGO/FQ777 multirotors, most notably and recently the previously reviewed FQ11. While the concept might be nothing new, aspects of the execution is. The battery is now removable, the Wi-Fi FPV functionality split into a detachable module, and perhaps most obvious, the folding solution completely different. Instead of folding in, the arms fold down, with no clasps holding them in place when extended. This looks janky as all hell, but let's reserve judgment until the actual flight test. Putting all the Wi-Fi related functionality into a removable module is certainly an interesting idea, but the result doesn't exactly radiate quality. I assume you're supposed to be able to angle this basic pinhole camera, but I can't get mine to point anywhere but straight ahead. The module uses a shoe-type mechanism to attach and a wire to connect to the quadcopter, but pretty much also requires the included landing gear in order for the quadcopter to stand upright. The combined transmitter, charger and case maintains that signature FQ777/SBEGO design of looking a couple of prototypes and a coat of paint away from actually being ready for production, but comes with some improvements over its predecessors, such as that the buttons are now labeled so you don't have to memorize what each of them do, a hatch that can also hold your phone, and built-in toggleable lights. The latter would make for a great night flying experience if only the quadcopter was as well lit, which it sadly isn't. Quite the opposite actually. The overall feel of the transmitter is pretty much par for the course, but SBEGO sends along two sets of sticks for you to choose between. You'll probably be able to figure out which you prefer based on whether you're a thumb or pinch flyer. What at least I can't figure out though is why they had to make the holes for the joysticks angular instead of round. It restricts movement and makes certain maneuvers, not least calibration, unnecessarily finicky. The quadcopter comes with a 250 mAh single-cell LiPo battery, which is big for this size of multirotor, and as you'll see in the flight test, contributes to some pretty impressive flight times. To charge it, you can use either the usually included USB charging cable or the transmitter, as previously mentioned. The former takes around 45 minutes, while the latter is slower, so add another half hour or so to the charge time. True to the SBEGO/FQ777 tradition of not skimping out on accessories, the box for the 127W includes a full set of spare propellers, a set of standard looking prop guards, which you can't use if you want to be able to fit the quadcopter inside of the transmitter, a prop removal tool, a screwdriver for accessing the transmitter's two battery compartments, instruction manuals, and these mysterious pieces of adhesive plastic foam. That new folding mechanism had me worried, but turns out it actually works pretty well. The quadcopter do wobble a bit when taking off or you apply yaw, especially flying with prop guards, but I didn't find it to affect handling much. It also seems surprisingly sturdy, at this point having withstood some moderate crashes without problem. On the other hand, I can't think of any clear benefit it adds versus previous solutions, so it feels more like change for change's sake. As for the overall flight characteristics, the 127W is satisfactory, but it won't blow your socks off. Less sporty than most previous FQ777 models, it offers 3 rates, the first 2 of which are nicely varied, while the third mainly serves to crank up the yaw speed, arguably making it too fast for regular flying without barely touching pitch or roll. For this reason, I ended up doing most of my flying on the middle rate. Considering how much it looks like a toy, the transmitter produces surprisingly nuanced responses to stick input, avoiding the either you're going or you're not trapping otherwise common in the toy grade segment. I'm also happy to report that the oversensitive throttle of some prior FQ777 models, which made them awkward to fly indoors, is not present here. This is good, as I found the 127W struggling to counter even relatively mild winds, sometimes making it tricky to fly outdoors. Surprising absolutely no one, the 127W has all of the novelty features we've learned to expect in this price and size class. Automatic flips work well, but are preceded by a huge amount of thrust, so think carefully before activating indoors. Headless mode and poor man's return to home also works, though it should be noted that the heading is locked when you bind the quadcopter as opposed to when you actually activate headless mode. Even taken for what it is, Wi-Fi FPV for whatever reason fails to impress on the 127W, at least the instances I've been testing it out. As soon as the quadcopter is no longer either very close or completely stationary, the live feed starts to stutter, sometimes dropping entire seconds worth of frames at a time. Curiously, the app control seems unaffected by this though. As hinted at earlier, the 127W, probably in no small part thanks to its 250 mAh battery, offers some impressive flight times. I seem to average around 10 minutes when flying without any accessories and around 7 with the Wi-Fi FPV module attached and active. There is a 30 to 60 second LVC warning on the quadcopter, but due to the difficult to spot LEDs, it's likely you'll miss it unless you're actively looking for it. Call it SBEGO or call it FQ777. The company or companies knows how to make a portable toy-grade multirotor, but at this point also start feeling a little bit like the equivalent of a good band that attempts to recreate their success by remaking their hit record over and over. The 127W is an alright quadcopter. More than alright. It flies fine, offers great flight times and packs a lot of nifty and mostly well-working features. That being said, it doesn't really do anything significantly different or significantly better than any of its many alternatives. In the end, the 127W feels more like an update than something entirely new. If you're looking to get your first carry-along multirotor, the 127W is a valid option. But if you already own a similar, earlier model, you don't have to worry about missing out. Hello again, thank you for watching and apologies to all subscribers for the delayed video. The next one should follow much more quickly. Anyway, you are welcome to leave a comment with your thoughts on either the 127W or this review down below. As always, you can also click the thumbnail shown here to keep watching my channel. See you soon in another review. Bye! Morning! RC View here. What I got for you today is... No, I mean, this is not me. No, let's get back.